Hello everyone and welcome to the Money Man. Now I've got a really interesting set of Peruvian banknotes from the mid-1980s here. And these are really interesting because this unit of the Peruvian currency does not exist anymore. These banknotes are actually called the Peruvian Intis. However, in 1991, the Peruvian government decided to replace the word Intis with the words Nuevo Sol, which means new sol. And then in 2015 they decided to just call it the Peruvian Sol and get rid of the new part. So these banknotes have a flavour of old Peruvian currency about them, and they're really, really fascinating. And what's even better is I'm going to try and pronounce the people that are on the front, so this is going to be a disaster. So let's get into the first banknote, which is the 10 Intis banknote, and here it is. Now, I love the colour scheme of this banknote, really, really nice, and you'll see lots of sort of pre-Columbian tribal patterning going through these banknotes, because what you actually get is a fusion of the modern Hispanic and the sort of pre-Hispanic cultures moulding together in these banknotes. They're both represented and they both come together in harmony in these banknotes, and it's really, really interesting. Now you can see that we've got the coat of arms of Peru right in the centre, and that is something that carries through all the banknotes. And the watermark is of a gentleman who I will show you in a moment. It's the same man represented in all the different denominations that I'm going to show you. Now on the right hand side you can see we've got a gentleman called Ricardo Palma. Now Ricardo Palma was a Peruvian author, scholar, librarian and politician. So made some significant contributions to Peruvian culture, so that's why he's represented on the 10 Intis banknote. And you can see this one is from 1987 right there. Spin it around and look at the back, and the reverse of these banknotes is not that interesting. It's not as visually appealing as the front of the banknotes. However, they are interesting because they represent the economy and society of Peru during the mid-1980s. And here you can see somebody picking flowers. We've got a crop right here that's being harvested, and a gentleman using some kind of a basic hand tool, probably for ploughing. So yeah, quite interesting. I kind of like these sort of a little hat as well, the sort of traditional Peruvian hat. Pretty cool, nice. Okay, so let's have a look at the next one. Now, the next one here is the 50 Intis banknote, and here it is. Now this one's pretty important, this one. Now you can see that we've got different patterns running through the banknote, and you'll see that these patterns change throughout each of the different denominations. You see you get these sort of like circular spiral patterns that emerge, and then you get these wonderful sort of depictions of pottery and things like that, and you get some other sort of Incan style images that pop up all the way through the banknote as well. Now this gentleman here is called Nicolas De Pirula. Now, I probably pronounced that really badly, apologies, but he is quite an important figure because he was a Peruvian politician and finance minister who served as the 33rd and 39th president of the Republic of Peru during the late 1800s. So yeah, he's quite an important guy, and he actually makes up the watermark that goes through all of these banknotes. And what they've done is they've just flipped his portrait and used him in the watermark. You probably can't quite catch it, but you can see, you know, there's his mustache, the bridge of his nose and his hair. It's the same guy basically. So yeah, quite an interesting character. And spin it around and look at the back. Now I think that this is an oil well, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure, because I never thought of Peru being an oil producing country. Again, I'm no oil expert, and I definitely don't really recognise an oil tap when I see one. But I think that's what this is. And again, it's another nod to Peruvian industry and infrastructure. And one of the weird things about this is this helicopter. You know, its flight approach is very suspicious. If I was stood here at the time of this photo or this image being taken, I'd be very worried about the approach of that helicopter. It's very, very bizarre. I don't know why they've included that in there. But it's at a weird angle. I mean, what is going on there? Anyway, I digress. But that's just something I noticed that I thought was odd. And you can see we've got the, the pre-Columbian civilization represented here with this sort of tribal pottery or vase or image or something like that. So very, very interesting banknotes. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. Now, the next one is quite interesting as well. This is the 100 Intis banknote, and here it is. Now you can see that some of the images, move around a little bit, and you can see that they play around with these different tribal images that they inject into the banknotes to make them look distinct from each other, and that is quite interesting. And you can see we've got this wonderful sort of mask here, and a nice example of contemporary pottery. When I say contemporary, I'm talking about pre-Columbian, that means pre-Spanish colonialism. So we're talking about the South American cultures that existed before the Spanish arrived. That's what I mean when I say pre-Columbian, before Columbus arrived, basically. So yeah, really, really interesting. Now, the man on the right side of this banknote is Ramon Castilo. Now, Ramon Castilo was a Peruvian who served as the president of Peru 3 times, as well as the interim president of Peru in 1863. So he's quite an important gentleman, served his country extensively, and is involved in, government efforts to abolish slavery and modernise the Peruvian state. So yeah, he was quite a significant character in Peru's past. If we spin it around and look at the back, you can see we've got a weaving machine right here, a loom. And what I like about this is, I mean, I don't really care for the modern image, but I love these sort of little, I guess, Incan style images along the bottom. Really, really nice. I mean, look at this guy. He's wearing no pants. I think we'll just cover him up there. Yeah, really, really interesting. Fascinating. And again, we've got some pottery, represented there. So again, we've got that fusion of the post-Columbian Hispanic and the pre-Columbian Incan sort of culture, Peruvian culture. Very, very interesting. Okay, let's move on. Now the next one is the 500 Intis banknote, and this one is probably the most interesting in my opinion. So here it is. Now, you can see that what we're doing is we're building up in terms of sophistication of the patterns that are going through the banknote. You can see this one is really, really fascinating. We've got this wonderful stripe that goes down here with these wonderful sort of Incan images going all the way through it. And then on the right hand side we've got this almost like mosaic of small images that make up almost like a carpet pattern that runs through the banknote. Really, really fascinating. I really like this one. I think this is probably my favourite of all the different denominations. And on the right hand side we have a man with 2 names. I'm actually going to pronounce the easier one, which is Tupac Amaru II. Now this gentleman is a very important piece of Peruvian history, because what he did is he led a large Andean uprising against the Spanish in Peru, and unfortunately when the Spanish quelled that rebellion he lost his life. It led to his death. However, because of his efforts to try and help liberate Peru from the Spanish and the general people of the Andes Mountains, he is almost seen like a mythical figure, and he's come to basically be the anthropomorphization of the Peruvian struggle for independence and indigenous rights. So he's a really, really fascinating character, and I've actually started doing a little bit more reading about this guy. Really interesting life. So yeah, spin it around and look at the back, and you can see we've got those same mountains, that he sort of he basically tried to liberate the peoples that live around these wonderful mountains right here. And I love this image right here. Look at that the 500 sits in the middle of. You see, we've got that fusion of the old and the new. Really, really interesting. The modern numerical characters here with this ancient sort of, mythical creature. Really, really fantastic. And this here always reminds me of the Nazca lines. Obviously different parts of the Americas, but it just reminds me of that. Really, really interesting. And then we've got a mountaineer right there. So really, really fascinating banknotes. I think this is definitely my favourite. Let's have a look at the next one. The next one is the 1000 Intis banknote. And here it is. Now, I quite like the colour scheme here. The fusion of the green and the red is quite interesting. And you can see that we've got this wonderful circular pattern in this one. And then we've got this sort of a tribal image of this woman. And it's really bizarre because she's got this long sort of, I don't know if that's supposed to be part of her hair, or if she's got this really long ear. It's really bizarre, because her hair is at the top and it's tied up in a ponytail, and then she's got this long bit that comes down here. So I don't know if this is a woman or if it's a mythical creature. Again, something from the pre-Columbian civilizations, definitely. And you've got this wonderful pattern that moves through here. Really, really nice. And I like these small images at the bottom here. Now, the gentleman on the right side is actually called Andres Avelino Caceres. I think that's how you say it, or Caceres. Again, I'm really sorry if I've just completely butchered the pronunciation of this guy's name, but he is quite a notable character. He served as the president of Peru 3 times during the 19th century. And actually, he's considered a national hero because he led the resistance against Chilean occupation during the War of the Pacific, which was from 1879 to 1883. So he fought as a general in the Peruvian army against Chile, and that's why you can see that he's depicted in his general's uniform. And look at that beard and that mustache. I mean, you know this guy's a warrior. Look at him. Amazing, really, really fantastic. So yeah, you can see, continuing with that theme of Peruvian independence right here. Spin it around and look at the back. Now, my first instinct was that this was a very well-known historical site, and of course I was thinking of Machu Picchu, but it is not Machu Picchu. This is the Ruinas de Chan Chan. Now, this is a different archaeological site that represents those pre-Columbian civilizations, the civilizations that were there before the Spanish arrived. And we've got this wonderful thing here. I have no idea what it is. It looks like some kind of staff to me. But yeah, I have absolutely no idea. But again, there's this unusual girl. Again, woman. I don't know. It's really cool, but it just bothers me. I don't know what it is. And you can see we've got this wonderful, triangular diamond pattern streaking down the banknote as well, which just gives it a little bit of nice colour contrast. Really interesting. So yeah, that's the 1000 Intis banknote. Now, the highest denomination that I have here is the 5000 Intis banknote. And I've got to say, it's not actually that great. I don't really care for the colour scheme in this. However, it is an interesting banknote. So let's have a look at this one. Now, you can see in this one that we've actually got this gentleman here represented, and this is Miguel Growl. Now, Miguel Growl was actually a Peruvian naval officer, and interestingly, the watermark of this banknote is different. Now, I'm not sure why. It might be a slightly later edition that was, maybe printed and produced just after the others. But we do actually have a different person in the watermark. And I think it's the same man. I think it's the same one. It's just a little bit tricky to see. But I think it's just his face just flipped. And yeah, like I said, he was an admiral. And he's considered a hero of the naval battle of Angamos, which was during the War of the Pacific when they fought against Chile. So he defeated enemies and is actually esteemed by both Peruvians and Chileans, interestingly, because of his chivalrous treatment of defeated enemies during that war. So even when he captured Chilean soldiers and sailors, he treated them very well with the utmost respect. So this man is actually revered in both Chile and in Peru. Really, really fascinating story. So he's seen as very much, a key figure in that Peruvian struggle for independence against Chilean occupation. And again, you can see we've got this wonderful contrast of the patterns that have been added and this wonderful strip that goes through the banknote. And you can see that we've actually got a security strip that just runs right down here as well. So if we spin it around and look at the back, you can see we've got some fishermen on the reverse here. Okay, so yeah, really interesting banknotes. Again, it's interesting that you've got 5,000 here, and then it's represented in red here and here. I'm not quite sure why that is, because it almost looks like it's been printed over the top. It hasn't, but it kind of looks that way because of the contrast. But yeah, really fascinating banknotes. So let me know what you think. This is the first time I've ever covered Peruvian currency in any of my videos, and I'm really happy to do so, and I've got some other South American currencies coming up soon. So let me know. Please leave a comment in the comment section if you wish. If you have any requests, let me know as well. And I've got much more content coming up for you very soon. Despite this damn coronavirus, I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna continue making videos for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys on the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye bye.